It was an early summer morning, and as Nathaniel walked down the creaking stairs in the dark, he shuddered. It had been an unusually cold night, and he was looking forward to exploring the new house as soon as he could. "Breakfast," his mother called. It frightened him, as it was dead quiet in the house. "Coming," he yelled back, rubbing his eyes. As he continued down the stairs, he could feel warmth, and the scent of pancakes, eggs, and bacon. "I wonder why it's so cold upstairs," he thought, looking across the living room, into the dining room. It was a grand dining room with beautiful, old woodwork and a giant wooden table, filled with all the food that had been prepared. "Where's Dad?" he asked. "Oh, he went to work already," his mom said. "Also, he said to make sure you don't go into the backwoods or barn. We don't know what's in there, and it's old weird," he thought. What could possibly be wrong? His mother looked nervous as she glanced out of the kitchen window, where the woods and the barn could be seen in the distance. "Yeah, okay," he responded dully. Suddenly realizing how hungry he was, he began eating quickly. His siblings tried talking to him, but all he could think about was how weird the move had been. They had just suddenly moved for his dad's work, which they didn't know anything about, and this small town seemed eerie. After filling up on the delicious food, he decided to explore town, hopping on his bike and taking off in the only road away from his house. He thought about the barn and backwoods. What could there be to explore? He knew he'd better not sneak from his backyard, because if anyone saw him, he'd be in big trouble when he got back. "I must find a better way," he thought. Continuing down the road, he noticed another road going off towards the back of his house. It was winding and covered in dirt and stone. There were houses on either side of the road, and they were very old and overgrown. No one lived there as far as he could tell. The sun was just beginning to rise, but he was still a bit creeped out, as there were shadows cast across the front lawns of the houses, and he could smell smoke nearby, but no smoke was present. As he passed a small creek that was overflowing from the rain they had the past few days, he saw a small house on the bank and a little window in the front by the door. It was surprisingly clear, and looking closer he saw a small figure in the window. She was in a white dress and had black hair, blankly staring into the distance. He waved. She didn't see him, or so he thought. Right as he was about to clear the little house and the creek, he felt a shiver down his spine. Glancing quickly back at the house out of the corner of his eye, he saw her staring right at him. Startled, he jumped and slipped into the ditch on his right side. Scaring him further, he decided that he was done for the day. Scrambling to his feet, he grabbed his handlebars and began riding home as fast as his legs would push. He looked to his left in the direction the house was, but he didn't see it. The creek was clear as day and back to normal levels. He rode faster. What was that? He thought, confused. It was just there a second ago. By this time the sun had risen further and everything was now clear. It had only been a few minutes. Or so it seemed. He continued home and noticed that his dad's truck was home. He usually got home after dark. As he neared the house, he could hear shouting. Where else would he be? His father shouted. Confused, he walked into the house through the double French doors. The whole family was gathered in the den, which was just to his right after walking in. "Oh my gosh! There you are!" His mother exclaimed. "Where have you been?" his father yelled. Glancing outside, Nathaniel realized it had grown dark out. Not slightly, it was pitch black. I was just outside, he said shakily. It felt like he had just left, but he quickly realized he had been out all day. You're grounded, his father said. You can't just disappear on us, his mother added. Now go to your room, his father ordered. Confused, tired and hot, Nathaniel trudged up the stairs. It was dark, but there was a faint light coming from a nightlight. What happened today, he thought. When he reached the top of the stairs, he found a note. Picking it up, he saw a sketch of the house he had seen earlier, which sent chills down his spine. I'll have to find a way out tomorrow, he continued to his room, which had a window overlooking the backwoods and the barn. Peering through the darkness, he noticed the same girl from earlier in the window of the barn. Quickly looking away, he tried to go sleep, only thinking about who she was and how she was connected to the barn and what was going on. It just didn't make sense. Where had the day gone? He could hear his family downstairs talking. Rolling over, he tried to sleep, but all he could think about was the girl, the house, and what was in the barn, and beyond the woods. Hours later, Nathaniel woke up in a cold sweat, mouth completely dry as if it had been open the whole time. The voices from downstairs had faded. He wondered how long he'd been out. Sitting up in his bed, he felt a cold breeze coming from the hallway. Wide awake, he slowly got up. Turning on his flashlight, he crept downstairs, and just like the previous morning, it was much warmer downstairs than upstairs. Normally it would be the opposite. Heading to the kitchen, he heard a faint scream coming from the back of the house. He quickly turned on the kitchen light, and got a cold glass of water to quench his thirst. Looking towards the basement door, he wondered who would be screaming at this time of night. He looked out of the kitchen window and his heart sank as he saw a flash of light from outside, in the center of the barn and the entrance to the woods. He turned off the kitchen light so he could see better. Peering out into the darkness, he saw a faint outline of a white dress, running off into the woods. He looked at the basement door again. Wondering if there was a way to the outside through there, he slowly inched towards it. It was an old wooden door, with a loose, rusted handle. Slowly gripping the handle, he began turning it. It was very cold to the touch and he wanted to let go, but it was too late. He saw the dining room light turn on. Someone else was awake. The door creaked as he opened it, shutting it as quickly as it was opened. Light from the kitchen crept through the bottom of the basement door. He was at the foot of the stairs. His heart beat rapidly and he felt as if it would burst. It was an old basement, and there were no lights. The old wooden stairs squeaked as he slowly descended into darkness. Standing at the foot of the stairs for his eyes to adjust to the darkness, he heard what sounded like a rocking chair, rocking slowly. Looking to his right, he saw the wood stove, and to his left was a hallway, which at the end was a door. Creeping forwards, he thought about what could be going on in the woods. Whatever it was, it didn't seem right. Upon reaching the door, he noticed it was the same as the one to the basement, only this one had a lock. One of those old rusty locks inside a tiny gap on the surface. Using his thumb, he carefully pushed. Nothing. Taking a moment to collect all his strength, he repositioned his finger and pushed it to the left as hard as he could. The lock suddenly opened, swinging his hand against the door. He groaned. He could feel blood dripping off his hand onto the floor. Trying to keep as quiet as he could, he began putting pressure on it with his shirt and drying it off, proceeding to open the door. As he stepped out, he was hit with a wave of heat. Why is it so hot out at this hour, he thought.